o'clock. It's officially 5 o'clock, so I'll call to order our agenda-setting meeting of the Aurora City Council on December 3rd. And because this is not an action session, we do not take a roll call. So we normally just turn it over to our city administrator, who in turn turns it over to our librarian.
Skip ahead.
So one change I'd like to just suggest in our routine here, if we could go to the actual agenda items for which there's not a lot of documentation and kind of preliminarily discuss some of those, allowing some time at the end. Do we have a full half-hour session?
No, actually today is basically our librarian speaking, and then our engineer and whatever our attorney has. So
Okay.
There's not a lot on the
Yeah,
board
I
today.
just was thinking that would be a, we obviously talked about the two resolutions related to the ordinance changes.
Yep.
But I'm sorry to interrupt
That's
again.
fine.
From our city librarian, what's your report?
Okay, we hosted a Veterans Day program with Minnesota photographer Jay Grammond. It was well attended, and the memorials he shared with us were great. A lot of them I wasn't even aware of, so it was really educational and entertaining too. And we're hoping that we can host a Veterans Day program every year from now on. So. 321 Art Studio held a paint class for children last week. They learned how to paint with oil paint. We also have the December Take and Make art kits from them. This month is working with clay, and it's provided by them, and they are available while supplies last. There will be a new kit out in January. Our computer desks are finally finished being built and will arrive next week. We did not expect this delay, but hope to have it completed by the end of the year. And we also have taken on J.R. Kopp to do our technology, and he's absolutely wonderful, so shout out to him too. We are hosting Carrie J. Griffith on December 10th at 2 o'clock. He is a Minnesota author who will be joining us to discuss his latest book, Gunflint Falling, Blowdown in the Boundary Waters, telling us the story of the July 4th, 1999 storm from the perspective of those who were there. This program is funded in part or in whole by a grant from Minnesota's Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. This month, Arrowhead Library System has provided us with felt mitten and heart pockets. This Take and Make project was created by local artist Mary Malari. The kits can be picked up at any ALS library during the month of December while supplies last, and this was also funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. This year we will be hosting the first annual Jingle and Mingle. This is a holiday-themed party that will be held in the library on Saturday, December 14th from 10 to 2. You can join us to make ornaments, have light refreshments, listen to holiday music, and the movie The Polar Express will be starting at noon. This event is intended for all ages, and it is funded by the Aurora Friends of the Library. Happy and safe holidays to everyone.
As always, a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to that veterans presentation on the sites, and yeah, it was just staggering to how many there are.
He's a really good
And he
presenter
just
too.
touched
so.
a small portion of them
Yeah.
right there. So, let's see, our city attorney, any matters?
Just I've got two easements that I'm working on for, can't even remember which, but
We're working on easements for the CASA 100 projects. It will be Marty Klein and his
Okay.
neighbor next door.
the two.
Yep.
So working on that, there's no
Stormwater.
water.
Yep. And then we do have the tort liability waiver that we're going to waive today.
Yeah, that, if you wanna talk about that, we waive that. We're not gonna waive the tort liability, whatever the statute says. I've been here a long time and I can't even recall Aurora being sued, so, you know, that being.
That's plastic. Yeah.
So, you know, we don't waive the tort
Yeah,
liability.
I'm kind of curious if any public bodies elect to subject themselves to greater liability. That seems,
Well, puts the league more at risk and you pay a higher premium. But I mean, you know, they might have more major stuff going on that they want their citizens to be compensated adequately. I don't know.
okay.
Nothing else besides that unless you've got something for me.
Not that moment that I can think of there. So Josh is online?
Yeah, if you want, what we can do is just run through the new business items, and then we'll get the safe roads to school pretty quickly here, and Josh can take it from there then.
Okay.
So 17.1 is the Caring for Kids. They're asking to waive the community center. They're doing a public event there for the holidays, so we're looking through.
Well, that's good. I don't think they've had public events before. Are they carrying the kids out?
Yeah,
Yeah.
not that I'm aware of. So they're asking for you guys to consider waiving the donation for that. Demolition of 209 South 3rd Street West. What this is the trailer home that we had purchased in the southwest part of town. We're just gonna look for IRRB grants to demolish it. I've already did an environmental review. They went in there and took some asbestos and lead samples and things, and they're gonna get back to us on that. It's just a typical process for the paperwork, so we're just saying we're gonna demo it, and you're authorizing us to try and get funds and accept funds for that.
It's a worthy candidate.
Yeah, it might be a,
I assume everybody's seen that or not? It's just realize or.
yeah, it needs to get taken care of, so that's why we acquired it.
Have we heard anything from the one across the street from it?
Have not.
Nothing, huh?
No, so actually, we did notice that in our utility audit, they were not paying utilities. So we sent them a letter and made them aware, and we let them know that we'd like to purchase their, the property or work towards them. And we kind of tried to work out a few things with them. And, so they're now receiving utility payments. So as a result, because they're not working with us, so.
It looks like it'll be a great house site though.
Yeah,
I mean, a good sized lot, I think.
it is, it's a quarter-acre lot, it's a good-sized lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Habitat for Humanity, by the way, talking with Nathan, yeah, was saying that they're talking with families in Aurora to see if they can identify a family that could be part of building a Habitat for Humanity. So if any of us know any younger families that would be able to put a little sweat equity in, right, and otherwise get the contributions, that would be another tax-paying unit, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Cadence there.
That's okay. We're gonna accept the cemetery memorial fund donation, which is made anonymously this evening. And then the ordinances, we already had the public hearing on, so you're well versed on those. And then Josh is up here with resolution 2024-76, Safe Roads to School Grant application. So Josh, if you're on and you want to share.
Yeah, so what this is the Safe Routes to School program. And so what that is, that's a program that was funded by the state legislature, I think it's 10 plus years ago now, to fund active transportation improvements in school areas to improve pedestrian safety. And so we were originally looking at for the 3rd Street realignment, so I'll share my screen here. That's this project, railroad, cutting off that railroad and then realigning 3rd Street into the school system. So we're originally thinking a different funding program, and so what this resolution is there's funding through the Safe Routes to School program to fund infrastructure improvements. The max grant ask is $1 million. There's no match requirement. So the construction would be 100% funding eligible, and then there'd be no match from the city. The city would be responsible for engineering costs to get it project ready, but overall the construction would be fully funded. So we're putting together that grant application right now. We'll be getting other resolutions of support from the school and other stakeholders, but getting the city's support for this application is a critical piece. We did coordinate with the ARDC this summer to get this into their Safe Routes to School plan, which is a huge scoring factor. And so I think we're gonna have a pretty competitive application, being we're in rural Minnesota. They haven't traditionally pushed a lot of this infrastructure grant funding to northern Minnesota. And so that combined with the fact that this project is in the ARDC Safe Routes to School plan, I think we have a pretty good chance to get some funding. Our ask is probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000. The max ask is $1 million. I think they have like 10 million in funds to allocate out. So it is competitive, but I mean, I think we'll be a competitive application. So.
Which state agency again is it that oversees this program?
MnDOT.
MnDOT, okay.
So the county does require sponsorship as well, and so Luke and I have been coordinating with Eric Falstrom at St. Louis County. The second board meeting in December, the county, it's on the agenda to get their letter of support as well.
The other thing I'll piggyback on that is, there is a trail that goes to Pine Grove Park, which runs actually by Richard's Storage Garage there to the west on 4th. And we're gonna include that into this intersection because that technically is a safe road to school. They walk down to Pine Grove Park and use that for their activities. They walk to school up from that area. So that 4th Street will be tied into this intersection project as well, which will help us always scoring too.
Yep, that was in ARDC's plan. So I mean, having another element, it's a low cost add, if you will. I mean, it'd be probably 50 grand to include that trail with it, but it's gonna just only bolster our application. And just so everyone's clear, I'm gonna just draw on the map. It's connecting the trail uphill, that's hard to see, up Hill Street and then down 4th Street, to the school system. So that way the Mesabi Regional Trail is connected to the school district.
Yeah,
Pretty strong application.
Yeah.
That's good.
do we have to take any actions related to the Railroad Avenue thing there of, before that, to ripen that application, or is that something we can do later?
That's exactly what this is. And so by showing, your resolution of support, it's that you support the improvements. This figure will be included in the application, so that'll all be very clearly laid out.
Good.
With that realignment, what will happen to that southwest corner of the intersection that's roadway now? Will that just become a green space?
Yeah, the one that kind of forks off to the
Yeah.
left, right, yeah.
This area here.
Yeah.
So that'd be at the council's discretion. Usually I would see it just become just right away owned by the city and you just maintain the grass area. You could look at turning it back to the neighboring properties. It could go either way. I have no preference from a technical level. I mean, we'd want to preserve some level of right of way along the roadway, but it would be at the council's discretion on how they wanted to go about that.
Well, it's more opportunities.
More opportunities.
Green space.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions of Josh? Anyone? No? Any other topics for us, Josh?
Yeah, a few other things I wanted to touch on. The next meeting I think is going to be a little busier one for myself and potentially Brian Golden. But the big thing, so we've been talking about the 3rd, 4th Avenue Alley project. I'm sure you're all aware, but the IRRB did award us $200,000 in infrastructure grant to help support this project at their November board meeting. So that's some good news. So this is the first project we're looking at implementing our assessment policy on. And so I think it was last November the council approved a resolution for the engineer to put together a feasibility report. I have that report ready to go. The next step in the 429 assessment process is to present that report to council. From there, you could elect to order a public hearing, at which case the public and any of the affected residents can come and share their concerns. And so it's just getting that process going so we can move forward into the competitive bidding process while still following that 429 assessment process. And so what I'd like to do is at the next council work session, start going through the preliminary or the engineer's feasibility report. From there, we would call the hearing, and then I would propose the first council meeting in January to have the hearing, but I understand that that's kind of a busy meeting to begin with, so we could look at potentially doing the second meeting as well. But we want to get through that hearing process, and then before we start the advertisement for bids. Overall, the plans are at like a 98% status. So I mean, they're pretty much ready to go. We just need to get through some of this assessment process stuff.
Right. Yeah, I don't know, I would think that a public hearing would be a good idea, right? since it's a new, we haven't assessed anybody since Sunset Acres, right?
Yeah, that is correct. Also, we've got the resolution we need to consider for the franchise fees as well as part of this. We do, and with the CASA 100 coming through and First Avenue and now grabbing the alleys and grabbing 4th Street, there's a lot of projects where this is coming up, so we're gonna wanna have our assessment policy pretty tight for this. So, not anything we gotta figure out today, but for sure in the next month or so.
Well, with those franchise fees, you know, we voted in February against 5-0, I think it was, the gas fee, so we can bring that up and vote on it again.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Yeah, what has changed since then is we did the wastewater assessment, we did the wastewater rate study, and the wastewater rate study provided information that shows that we should not probably assess on the wastewater end. So the recommendation is to assess on the street end, and then also potentially looking at the franchise fees. Since we won't be raising our wastewater rates, you could raise those fees to help offset assessment costs.
I think at the time we voted on them, it was a time when people were hit pretty hard with their taxes and we didn't want to pile on, but things have changed and it's time to look at it again.
The wastewater rates were recommended only cost of living for the next 10 years.
Yeah,
So
right.
that's, I think, what has changed since then. Our water rates will still have to increase, but our wastewater rates, even with the $15 million wastewater plant project and all of our capital improvement as wastewater, that account was so healthy that they recommend doing this instead. So essentially what it is it's almost like a savings account. It's helping to fund projects. So right now our assessment cap is right around $8,000, and this would help bring that cap down to about $6,000 if you went that route. So it just creates.
So it spreads the financial responsibility over the whole population that are gas users, right? As opposed to an assessment that would be
Yep.
more property owner.
Yep.
So do we know what the water rates are gonna be? Have we set that, or I know it was 7 something, but it's gonna be 7 for next year pretty much, right?
So right now, and we'll have our budget, we have to schedule our budget meeting, but most likely it will be $7 for the capital for the plant, and then it will be just the cost of living for the O&M. So that's what we're looking at for water. And then wastewater, we wouldn't raise capital at all, we would just raise the cost of living for that.
Right. But when we voted down the gas thing, we are also concerned about the future water rate increases. You know, so do we have more clarity on that beyond this 1 year?
Well, we have reason to be optimistic that the indebtedness that had to be taken on for the project is now high probability going to be shared by Hoyt Lakes as part of its buying in. Timing might be an issue as to when we draw down the principal of the loan relative to the end of the project and relative to Hoyt Lakes coming on, but the reality is that's a 30-year obligation, and we might be able, through Hoyt Lakes coming on, to at least get another paying borrower and possibly reduce the principal.
Significantly, yeah. Value engineering is shaved off, and again, these are just numbers that we're looking at as we're getting farther into the project, but it's looking realistically that we'll shave about $2 million. So that leaves us $5 million left, and then with Hoyt Lakes coming on, that cost would come down significantly as well. So,
And the project's beautifully on target financially, right? So that the contingency reserves that were there might not have to be used either.
the other thing I'll add on that too is that we did receive a $2 million WIF grant for our water infrastructure, our water line, to get the line out of town before Hoyt Lakes, so that's gonna bring down that cost significantly as well. So we're receiving lots of funding,
Yeah.
and it's looking much better than it was. I mean, it changes monthly almost, so.
Yeah, so yeah, hopefully if we keep the water rates lower than what we originally, that frightening scenario of what, $75, per month, and not have to go that way. And,
That's good.
but it's a matter of timing on that. Let's see, Josh, more matters?
Yeah, a few other things I'd like to address. Thank you, Mayor. So Luke did just touch on the additional WIF grant funding we were fortunate enough to receive. We do have a meeting with the Department of Health on Monday to go over that potential scope expansion to make sure we're capitalizing on all those grant dollars that we're fortunate enough to get. Initial conversations sound very favorable that they're open to letting us expand scope as long as we stay tied to that original project limit. And so what we're looking at is potentially going down 4th Street to connect to First Avenue, and then the First Avenue alley between 2nd and First Avenue. So that's the dashed lines here would be the additional scope to maximize those grant dollars. So more to come, but just wanted to keep the council informed. The last thing I had was just an update on the industrial park. They're nearing completion of the concrete foundation for the building. And so I think they're well on track for their schedule and still anticipate to be putting the building panels in here in the next month or so. So I would imagine we'll have a completely different looking site here come the first of the year. So.
All good news. Great. So that concludes your remarks, Josh?
It does, thank you.
Well, thanks for keeping on top of all those things.
We may want to consider an earlier meeting because there's going to be so much stuff to digest and talk about for the next council meeting on the 17th. So we'll chat about that as well.
Okay, so just going back then to the agenda preview, essentially, for the meeting there. I think we were on 17.7.
Yes, we received an email and a letter from our animal control officer and our blight officer, who performs double duty and does both those tasks. He also does Hoyt Lakes, which is quite an undertaking, as amongst other things in his life. So he's submitted his letter of resignation. It will be effective at the end of the year. So tonight what we would look for is a motion to accept those letters of resignation, and then also we would like to post internally and externally for those positions, probably with the end date of December 31st or until filled. So that way if we don't get applications, we can just keep those running. So that's what we'd be looking for there.
Just procedurally, do we do a separate acceptance of the resignation and then a motion to advertise? Okay.
Yeah, they are two, even though there's one gentleman that did both positions, they are two separate positions, so we'll do them cleanly.
Is that for White Lakes and Aurora, or just Aurora?
Just for Aurora.
Oh.
I believe he's still gonna work in
Okay.
Lakes.
That blight officer, would there be any need or desire to have it filled before, like, end of April? I mean, really, it's the kind of the downtime of the year, the first few months.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take applications until the 31st. Hopefully we get somebody, and then we'll have a hiring committee that we will assign at the first of the year as part of our reorganization meeting.
Yeah.
And then that committee would look at it. And
So the actual hiring, though, your point you're making is, it could be much later
Yeah,
because of the seasonal.
Yeah.
I mean, it does, everything's under snow right now, so.
Yeah, good.
All right, let's see, Downtown Beautification Committee, have candidates stepped forward for that, or?
Well, so what we're gonna do here again, this is gonna be a very popular committee. We've had a lot of people from the public specifically reaching out. So the idea behind all of this is that we want a core committee consisting of a couple council members, a couple staff members, a couple members from Celebrate Aurora, a couple members from the chamber, and then that would be the core that we would basically set the meetings around. Hopefully, the other thing I'll say is that our engineers will be on staff, they're landscape people, so hopefully it's somebody who has flexibility to meet between 9 and 4 o'clock or something like that. Not that all of our meetings have to be there, but what we would envision is a standing meeting, that it's always gonna be the first Wednesday of the month at such and such time, whatever works for the core members. But the meetings would be open to the public, the meetings would be open, we want more input. We'll probably do surveys, we'll probably put out questionnaires, maybe some pop-up things at events that people could put input on. We want many, many ideas, but we have to have a core group that we can set the schedules around. So that's the idea, is we'll get that core group that the schedules will be set around. The email that I sent out to the Aurora Chamber and that I sent out to Celebrate Aurora, it said that I would hope that they would have monthly, this would be on their monthly agenda, that their members would contribute to their core members, and that they would talk about it and bring all their ideas, and then their members would bring it. Much like we did with the project management team here for the CASA 100 for all of that. We had a committee that went around and did all of that and met and did some things too. So what I'm looking for is 2 from here. Keep in mind that Richard is a member of also the chamber.
For the chamber, you're gonna.
Right. So I'm not sure exactly if you guys have figured out who you want on your guys' committee yet, but,
Find out, we'll figure something.
so if you remember the chamber, and then we grab 2 other people, we may have to post the meetings publicly if we have 3, we'll have a quorum possibly present, but if you guys wanted to show up, if you're not a member of the core team, that's fine too. So we may have to post them anyways, just because, but, so eventually, we'll start meeting in January of 2025. We'll meet as often as needed, but I would imagine for sure at least monthly. And then, once, this is through the design process, and then once it gets to design and bid out, then we meet, as needed after that point. But this is to put all the thought and all the DNA into the project design, so that when it bids out in the winter, it's
So will the county engineer's office be the engineers for this type of thing, or will our city engineer be?
our city, it's a good question. Our city engineer will be the engineer for this. Yep.
Working with the county to put it together.
Yep, and that's why we want them to be a part of the design, the team, because they know what we can do, what we can't do. They've designed other towns, they've got millions of other ideas and things that they can show to the committee. Hey, how about this, how about that? And how does Aurora want to be different, set itself different? So then once we bring those ideas to them and they can say yes or no, or this is gonna cost this, maybe you don't want to be too grandiose, they can kind of keep our budget in mind too. They will then in turn design that and get it to the county and put it in the project.
Wasn't there money set aside for this project?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, there was $600,000 put aside for it, and to this point, we've invested it and we've made $31,000 on it. So there's 631 sitting there as of today.
So you'd like to stay inside that budget, I assume?
The other thing I will say too is that there was $3 million allocated to the county for the city of Aurora for this project as well, which I'll let Josh talk on that. I think that money would be available for some of this too, for lighting and the lighting family and.
Yeah, potentially. And so it's all going to come down to how the district engineer, which is Derek Frederickson, MnDOT District 1, interprets the language. He kind of has final say on what's eligible and what isn't. Typically things like trash receptacles and fancy landscape plantings and things like that are not eligible. For the $3 million, they would be for the 600,000 beautification stuff, because that was specifically written into the language. It all comes back to how the legislature wrote that specific language. But any of the concrete and all that stuff, that's definitely eligible for the $3 million. So
So can we use any of that 3 million for the north end of Main Street, or that's out of scope?
We have to work through that. We have to work through the county with that.
yeah. So.
Well, at least we have a lot of money on the table to work with, so that's not always the case, right? So that's like the thing. All right, Josh, say we're getting near 5:30, anything more?
Nothing on my end. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you for keeping on top of so many things. City Administrator?
Yep, and the last thing is we need to set a budget meeting for the week of December 9th, and I would imagine like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we can do it at 3, whatever works best for your guys' schedule. I would imagine this would probably take a couple hours, and we just need to really
Bear down.
kind of hash out what things we want to cut, what things we want to keep in, where we're looking at with our, because we will have to set on the 17th, we will have to set the levy,
So this will be next Monday then?
Well, that week, anytime that week.
Oh, anytime that week.
Yep, because the meeting, what I'd like to do is have the meeting the week of the 9th. Let's go through all of it as a group, and then you guys can see where we're at, kind of think of what you want that levy to be. And then we'll know what's in there, so on the 17th, when we set it, you guys will have had that meeting and that time to think about it.
I would think if we could meet earlier in the week, if we find we ran out of time or wanted more information, that might give us another date later in the week. I mean, I'm not hoping for that by any means, but I'm just thinking, once we get to the 17th, that's the fail-safe point, right?
You have till the end of the month, but we'd like to set it on the 17th, because we have.
I don't want to meet on Christmas.
We don't, yeah,
Yeah.
we want to be open during Christmas,
So maybe like the 10th?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a Tuesday.
No time.
Like 1 o'clock maybe, or 2 o'clock, in a couple, 3 hours.
Afternoon will work for me, I could be there in the morning, but I can be there in the afternoon.
Does 1 work for you?
Huh?
Does
Yeah,
1
oh, yeah.
o'clock work for everybody?
Yeah.
that we've
Yeah,
got.
one, it gives us time for those other meetings we always have after.
So that's on the tenth then?
10th at 1 o'clock,
Yeah,
so.
that's a Tuesday.
Yep. Okay, so then when we get to the council meeting, we'll just set that date then. Okay, that's all we have.
Good. Motion to adjourn? Moved by Councilor Hess, supported by Councilor Bodie. With a nod of the head. Seeing no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand
Thanks, Jen.
adjourned for a
Have a good
minute or
night,
so.
everyone.
Thanks, Jan. All right. Are you ready to go on camera?
Yep.
All right. It's now still 5:30, so I'll call the regular Aurora City Council meeting of December 3rd to order. And can we have a roll call, please?
Sure can. Bodie?
Here.
McClousich? Here. Hanson? Here. Hess? Here. Gregor?
Here. So we have the full council present, and if we can stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on our agenda, number 4, is the consent agenda, which, for those who might be watching on TV, is the portion of the agenda which, because of the relatively routine nature of the matters covered, is usually adopted as one motion for several agenda items. But councilors have the option to take something out of that consent agenda, if anything on anyone's mind in particular. All right, if not, then entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
We adopt the consent agenda.
Moved by Councilor Hanson, support.
I'll support.
Supported by Councilor Hess. Any further discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the consent agenda then is adopted. And I don't believe, City Administrator, we have any appearances?
We do not.
Anyone online or otherwise? All right, so the public forum. And we've had our reports from staff members in the preceding agenda meeting. Is there anything further, City Administrator, that we should put into this meeting?
No, I guess one thing I do want to say though that was in the consent agenda is we're getting a lot of lead service line comments and for the record, and since we're on camera here. What happened there essentially is it was a federal government mandate that there was an inventory needed to be had for lead service lines throughout the United States. So it was passed on through the Minnesota Department of Health, who handled it. We had a deadline to get it done. There was grant money available, which is why we hired Bolton & Mink to handle it for us, because they literally went through people's homes, took pictures of service lines, did a survey for it. The problem is that even though in your house where we take a picture of it and there's copper there, underground where it runs to a standpipe, which is the shut-off in your yard, the right-of-way, we don't know what is between on the city side. So lots of people have copper in their house, but they're getting these letters back that say unknown, because the Department of Health required a template be mailed out in their format. We couldn't put any additional information on there or do anything like that. So we have been getting a lot of calls on people saying, well, it says copper, or what's this, now I gotta get somebody to come in and repair my line. That's not true, that's not the case. Everything is okay. They're just sitting with a letter for the Department of Health. The inventory's been done, and if we don't have plans on it, or we don't know what's in between the city side and that valve, we have to just list it as unknown. But now that the federal government and the state has the numbers, now they can figure out what they need to do for grant money 3, 4, 5 years from now, who knows, whenever they decide to start
So a
placing.
homeowner who knows they have copper up to the valve,
Yep.
but don't know what's between the valve and the street service, they're okay.
It says unknown, because we don't know what is from on the city side.
And
We can
that's-
see what
that's
comes-
acceptable.
That's acceptable.
Oh,
Yep,
okay.
yep.
Yeah, I assume rest of you got questions like that too, or that? Yeah, a lot of
It's been a hot topic.
confusion. Kept the staff busy there, so, good.
So the city's not requiring anyone to do any work, the state is not requiring anyone to do any work, it doesn't mean that there's lead in your line. It's just how we have to report it, how the state wanted the format to be done. And just, no action is necessary for anyone at this point, no need to be alarmed, so. Okay.
All right, very good. So, having no appearances or public forums and having got the previous staff members' reports, we move then to reports from counselors, and start out with Counselor Bodie.
Okay, my subject tonight is the HRA grant program they had. We finished up for this year, 19 grants were awarded. There was 21 applicants, a couple decided against doing their projects. So the grant amount awarded out was $18,124.45. A couple of the projects came in under the $2,000 total to get the full grant, so that's why it's a little bit lower. But it generated, above the money allowed for the grant, $119,912.35 worth of construction.
Great.
And so, you know, a couple of them were bigger projects which raised that up, but like I've said before, all in all, it helps make the town look better, and it helps people in the neighborhood say, geez, you know, that looks nicer, we should do something. So next year, we're fine tuning some of the rules and limits, but we intend to do about the same next year, about 20 grants.
Great.
Can they carry that 1,900 over to next year, or is it use it or lose it, the HRA, you know, that wasn't spent? You came in at 18,001.
Okay. Yeah.
You keep the money, right? There isn't a...
Yeah, I
Or do you have to
don't,
give it back to HRW? I think.
no, I don't think we have to.
So we could do 21 grants next year.
I don't know. We've never really discussed if we're going up one more, but it's really been popular and it's just growing. I wish we could do more, but
Yeah. That's right, we can use the
Start.
1,900 from this year, for next year, you know, it gives you an extra one.
yeah. That's all I'm gonna talk about is that program tonight.
Well, it's a good encouraging program, and it was the leverage ratio is just incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Councilor McCloskey.
Well, I saw that the rink attendant was down at the hockey rink today blowing snow. So I suspect Lukey's gonna start playing ice pretty quick.
He sure is,
Certainly have
yep.
the weather that's conducive.
That's the first task that needs to be done, you know?
Yeah, and then we're moving along with funding for the permanent structure. Essentia was nice enough to grant us, after Luke wrote the grant, a $10,000 grant for that project for next summer, so that was positive news. So thank you, Essentia.
Great. Councilor Hanson.
Yeah, at the November library board meeting, the terms, the office will have elections at the end of the year, or January 1. But Thea Reibel is resigning from the board after, I believe, 11 years total. And she's been recently serving as the chair for the last number of years. And I would just like to thank her for all the countless hours that she put in. It's people like that that volunteer and not only keep the library running well, but also our parks and our trails and the cemetery and public safety and the city festivals. A lot of this couldn't happen and wouldn't look as nice as it does and operate as efficiently as it does. It takes a big load off city staff to have these volunteers. So thank you, Thea, and all the people out there that contribute. It's time well spent, time appreciated.
Well, it's good to express the appreciation, because a lot of times they're thankless jobs, right?
Right.
Yeah, so very good. So, well, is Thea going to stay on the board, or just?
No, she's, I
Totally.
believe, resigning that, but I don't think you'll keep her out of the library.
So there'd be, so there'll be an opening on the board perhaps coming up for
I
anyone.
believe there will
audience.
be, yeah.
Well, thanks for that report, Councilor Hess.
No, we don't have too much, city crew got, Public Works got their new tool cab, so they got that in work, and we got rid of the one we put up for auction, so made a little more money than what Bobcat offered us, but not a whole lot, but a little more, so. Other than that, it's about it.
Well, it got a chance to be used, right? Didn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah.
We have snow, for instance. All right, thank you, Councilor Hess. Let's see, just from the audience, I don't know, we didn't dwell upon the fact there is a truth and taxation meeting coming up this Thursday in the council chamber.
Nope, I think we're doing it at the
Community center?
community center.
All right, and that's at 6?
Yep.
Starting at 6 o'clock, so this will be a chance for members of the public to make their opinions known on various preliminary budget and levy items that will come up at that meeting. East Range Water Board, we were shoring up a DNR lease for the construction area on the water intake site on the north side of the Embarrass Pit Lake. Water treatment plant, there have been some significant change orders, not changing the cost, but refining the project now and taking into consideration the modular expansion potentially for White Lakes coming on. The panels on the water treatment plant are due, what, late winter or early spring to go up there, so that'll start appearing to be much more of a structure there. And the engineering firm is doing modeling for the water needs of White Lakes and by Wabake's in combination with the others, so that not only does that satisfy DNR requirements of knowing, you know, the adequacy of the water supply, but also for the planning for a robust, full East Range system ultimately. So that's been going on. Anything on the water board related that I missed there? I think we're kind of in a progressing.
Yeah, we
progressing well.
didn't meet with White Lakes, if you wanna update on
Yeah,
that.
oh yeah, I guess we did meet preliminary with White Lakes, that was very encouraging. We've set up what we hope are gonna be monthly, at least, meetings with White Lakes to help refine the both the financial and the organizational implications of coming on board. They, of course, will have a new council, but we're optimistic that the momentum that's been built up to have them join is going to continue into the new administration there. And yeah, it helps, I think, sharpen our focus on the steps that are being taken to more confidently realize that we may have an additional significant water user on the system in the future as far as rates, loans, and capacity and things. So, let's see, East Range Joint Powers Board, just for business owners and members out there, there is in place still a seller readiness rehab program if people are getting ready to sell their home, have compliance issues for eligibility for buyer mortgages. There's a program for short-term loans to bring it up to, what is it, FHA standards, I think, from Housing Authority standards to enable federal lending programs to be available and eligible. There's a business participation loan program that extends grants or loans up to $50,000 each, so businesses in town that might be looking for, I think our interest rate will be more than competitive on the East Range board. And just one little interesting item that came up at the last one. Apparently in Biwabik, there's a pre-prepared coffee shop called the Green Bean Coffee House, which the developer there is not going to operate and might be looking for one. And I haven't talked to Eric at the Hive whether they want to expand or not, but I don't imagine that's the case. But it's just another interesting feature of what's going on in the neighborhood there. Celebrate Aurora is vigorously trying to solidify its organizational matters and get ready for the upcoming year, but it's in good financial shape, and the enthusiasm, I guess I told the chair, Chasica, that it's a sign of a maturing organization, that they get concerned about organizational matters rather than just survival. And I know there's a crew that's been working also on the food stand that they rotate around. Let's see, Councilor Hanson and I independently went and took a tour, I didn't know if you were gonna mention this, of the solar installation that's on top of the school. And Superintendent Jeff Burgess was very gracious in the presentation. He also did note, by the way, that there's a federal program specifically targeted to public buildings in small towns to do solar expansions. And I think the window of opportunity, he said it was kind of December, right? So we're probably gonna get lost in the shuffle of this month. But it's interesting that the need for those public buildings to both benefit from and be kind of poster child situations for things came up. And let's see, there's a Soil and Water Conservation District, open house on the 10th, or I think it's the 11th. And yeah, that's probably a good summary of some of the things that have been passing by. So, returning then to our agenda, we have no old business under agenda item 16. Under new business, we've had an opportunity in the preceding agenda setting meeting to discuss a number of these items, but turning first then to agenda item 17.1, the Caring for Kids Community Center waiver of a fee. The city administrator, do you want to indicate any?
Yeah, typically for like nonprofit organizations and things like this that are doing things for the community, that aren't looking to make a profit or whatnot, we do waive the fee for it. So they're looking for that for a public event.
Did they specify the nature of the public event or not?
I don't want to steal their thunder, but
Oh.
I believe it's a holiday event is what I'll say.
Oh, okay.
And is it in December? Is that good then?
I believe it is.
So is there a motion to waive the fee for that community event?
Yeah, I move we waive the fee for the Caring for Kids community event.
Moved by Councilor Hanson, supported by
I'll support it.
Councilor Doty. Any further discussion, questions?
Are they up to date on their gambling?
They are not currently up to date on their gambling.
Do you see some correlation between these two? All right, well, it certainly, I'm sure the staff is working to try to get that remedied there.
How far in arrears are they?
I did not look today to see where they're at, but I would say sometime this summer, they're around there.
You know, when we donate the use of the community center, what does it usually cost us for cleanup after? Anything?
Well, we pay a monthly fee to the custodian, and
Okay.
that would be whether there's 40 events or there's 4.
Okay, so it doesn't create an extra cost?
No, the extra cost would be if they didn't clean it, and then the custodian had to spend more time there,
Okay.
then that's where we would keep the down payment.
All right, so we have a motion on the table, it's been supported. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Moving on to agenda item 17.2, proposed resolution 2024-72, the demolition of the, city-owned, right?
City-owned, yep.
Structure at 209 South 3rd Street West, to open up some funding opportunities to help pay for that demolition cost, right?
This is to apply for and accept funds for the IRRD demolition. Correct.
I'll make that motion to support resolution 24-73.
72.
72.
Moved by Councilor Clausen, supported by Councilor Hess. Any further discussion on that? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to, let's see, the 17.3, right? The
Yes.
resolution proposed 2024-73 regarding the acceptance of a donation from an anonymous donor for the cemetery memorial fund. Any,
It'll be for planters or on the new sign?
the corner sign?
Yeah. The sign.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2024-73. 2024-73.
I'll support that.
All right, moved by Counselor Hess, supported by Counselor Godey. Further discussion?
Rose McCloskey should support it.
Oh, McClure, I'm sorry.
We sound a lot alike. You know,
Well-
alike too.
Counselor Godey's grinning there, so I thought he was, that was a.
He thought he was gonna get a support without even opening his mouth.
Yeah. All right, so we've got a motion supported on the table. Any further questions or discussions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to agenda item 17.4. Proposed resolution 2024-74 relates to the adoption of ordinance 107 for some modifications in the long-term rental ordinance provisions, as we've covered in our agenda meeting. City Administrator, anything further to capitalize on that, or?
No, I mean, when we put this together, it was trying to balance overstep versus common sense kind of things. You know, there are people who are reaching out who have some legitimate concerns, but we also don't want to monitor like every degree of temperature that the landlord's gonna keep it at. So that was kind of the idea behind this amendment. And when we put this in last year, we knew that we were gonna be continually adapting it to Aurora's needs and whatnot. So, I mean, I guess,
Yeah, and in the previous meeting, we talked about tabling this, to put some kind of a timeline around some of the repairs.
yeah, the only thing I would caution on that is, it's tough because what we have noticed with a lot of the inspections that we've been doing already, some of them like, say for example, one gentleman didn't have a cover on a hot water, natural gas hot water heater, and carbon monoxide could get in the house. They patched that up within 30 minutes. But then we've got other ones where stairs are completely need to be redone, so then that needs to be a month, you know.
Right.
And then sometimes people get back to us and say, well, I can't get a contractor for that. So it's kind of tough, it's kind of situational, so.
So Councilor Gossett, you were just concerned about the ambiguity.
Right, especially those that are less than eager to get things fixed. You know, absentee
Yep.
landlords, so to speak,
Yep.
or some other kind of landlords. And, you know, I mean, if, I just don't want it to play out forever that they can't get it fixed, you know?
Yeah, that's where I would hope that we could have some flexibility in there where we would have administrative penalties where we can make it hurt until they got it fixed. You know,
Yeah,
that would be my recommendation.
I think, not to put words in your mouth, but I think your concern was if there isn't a deadline at which to get done the work, then
Yep.
to assess the administrative penalties
Yep.
might be more difficult, right?
right,
So could we?
We definitely need to table and talk about it a little
yeah.
bit.
And Lindsay was gonna do some additional research to see what some other
Sure.
communities do. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but it's just, if it's open-ended, I just think some of the absentee landlords might say, well, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Didn't she want us to table this until
Yes.
she checks
Yeah.
some mandates?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to change it where there's some teeth in the ordinance.
she said she was following what, Minneapolis or St. Paul's? so-
State code, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Motion from Councilor McCluskey to table,
Yes.
support?
I'll support that.
Supported by Councilor Godey. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That matter is tabled for further consideration. Moving on to agenda item 17.5, a proposed resolution 2024-75 regarding the adoption of ordinance 108 relative to the animal control ordinances. Based on our prior discussion at the previous meeting, it primarily targets dangerous dogs, right? And the procedures that would be brought into play when those animals are identified. Anything further, City Administrator?
Nothing really other than that, this doesn't mirror it word for word, but it's very consistent with what Lakes as well too. So we did share, and in the past shared animal officers, so it's nice to have kind of similar ordinances, so, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2024-75.
Councilor Hess has moved adoption. Support?
I'll support it.
Supported by Councilor Hanson. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving that along. Resolution, next is agenda item 17.6, proposed resolution 2024-76, which has to do with an application for grant funding for the Safe Routes to School program operated by the Minnesota Department of Transportation, and we did have an explanation at our agenda setting meeting, but I think city administrator, for the record, maybe just to characterize what the focal point of that grant application
Yep,
is.
the focal point of this is cleaning up the intersection behind Bradish Lumber and the swimming pool parking lot. For people who live around here, they'll know exactly which one that is. There's accidents that are there. The bus routes run along in there, and it's a nightmare on Railroad Avenue. We're going north and south on that thing. So we're looking at closing that with the Casal 100 and then cleaning up the intersection on 3rd Street, which is to the west of Bradish. So it's on 4th Avenue by the school there.
And I was shocked, but pleasingly so, that we could be getting up to $500,000 for.
Yep, the max grant award is $1 million. We'll be asking for $500,000 to redo this intersection, and it'll also include a trail, a bike trail that would connect to the existing Masabi Trail and Pine Grove Park as well. So it's a really nice little upgrade in there, and we think we got a pretty strong application, but we'll find out.
That be matched by City of Aurora dollars, or is that straight out grant?
It's a good question, and no, it is not matched by any dollars. We will just have to pay for engineering.
Motion to approve the proposed resolution,
Make a motion to approve resolution 2024-76.
moved by Councilor Hess, support.
I'll support that.
Supported by Councilor McClassic. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That resolution is adopted. Moving to agenda item 17.7, Animal Control Officer resignation. We have in our packet a letter of resignation from our current Animal Control Officer indicating that he will not be able to continue his work with us after December 31st, right?
That is correct.
So, past procedure and proper protocol would be that we first entertain a motion to accept his resignation with regrets. I'm sure we'll suitably thank him for the wonderful service he's been doing, but is there a motion to accept that resignation?
Which one, animal?
Animal Control.
They're both on the same letter, are we doing them together?
Do them separate, it's two different separate
I
jobs.
think
Okay.
it was recommended to do them
I'll make a
separately.
motion to accept his resignation as animal control officer.
Moved by Councilor Hess and supported by
Wasn't me.
I'll support it.
Councilor Godey. And again, with regrets, any further discussion or anything? I think he's done a remarkable job of turning around our situation, but there's a lot left to be done, right? So, yeah. All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor of accepting the resignation?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so, and then similarly then, as our blight officer, I was confusing, I'm sorry, with my previous remarks, but he's done a good job in both areas here, the animal control and that. Is there a motion to accept the resignation from the blight officer position?
I'll make that motion to accept the resignation for the blight officer.
Moved by Councilor McClassic and supported by Councilor Hess. Any further questions or discussions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we've accepted the resignations, and next agenda item is 17.9. Need a motion to authorize for, we can do in one motion, the advertising for both positions?
I would think so.
Yeah, I would think so.
And I would move, that it would, or I suggest that it's moved internal and external posting to December 31st until filled. So we need to post internal and external until December 31st or until.
And we don't need to distinguish what periods with each of those, right?
No, no, just for both of them.
All right, is there a motion then to advertise, as the city administrators described, for the applicants for these positions?
I move we advertise the positions.
Moved by Councilor Hanson, supported
I'll support it.
Supported by Councilor Hess. And then discussion? Or-
We're gonna post them as two separate.
Yes.
Okay.
We do have separate employment contracts for each of them as well.
Okay.
But we'd, I assume, be willing to entertain somebody that was willing to do both again?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they'll be posted as two separate.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Otherwise, somebody's gonna think they have to take two.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, we'll run
Well,
about,
that's very reasonable.
Yeah, we'll run them in the same ad, but we'll just
Right.
put different, we're hiring current positions open.
Okay, let's see, was there a motion?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, all right, it's been moved, it's on the table. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously carries. 17.10 has to do with the formation of a downtown beautification committee to work with individuals from other organizations, right?
Correct.
In planning features associated with the beautification of the County State Aid Highway 100 corridor that's going to be rebuilt in, what, 26 and 27? Yeah. So we briefly discussed this. Depending upon Councilor Hess's position with the chamber, do you
We'll have
anticipate?
we'll have new officers in the chamber starting January, so.
Okay, so my,
We'll have election officers next week, so,
okay.
their Christmas things, so.
Well, yeah, either way, I suppose we could have two of us from the council plus you for from the chamber, and then we just give notice of the meetings, right?
I probably won't be on it from the chamber.
You won't be on for the chamber, okay. I didn't read that into the remarks.
And I guess the other thing I'll say too is that, this is for the core team, right? If all of the mayor and council wants to be there for the meetings, or if you're available, you most certainly can come, and we can and probably will post them. We want the public there, we want, you know, as many people as we can to get input on it, but we have to have a core team that's going to base the meetings around, so be two from the mayor and council, two from Celebrate Aurora, two from the chamber, a couple from city staff, that'll be the core team, and then whoever wants to kind of show up and kind of participate, you know.
That might be difficult to do from your vacation.
Oh, no, we could just zoom in.
Yeah.
Or I could just be on the phone.
Councilors, I gather from your remarks that you'd like to be on it as one of the councilors?
Yeah.
All right, so, other council?
Express an interest to Luke.
Okay, Councilor Hanson.
As well.
Yeah, I'd
Like
express the interest to Luke too.
Well, that's fine, if you guys want to be on it, that's fine with me. I was on the other day, so.
Oh, okay. All right, so Councilors Hanson and McCloskey, would you be willing to serve on the committee?
Yeah, did you want to serve on the committee?
I'll
Well,
go to the meetings.
I was gonna say, I might drop in on some of the meetings.
We're
but-
gonna post them, so you guys can just show up, but I just need to know who the two core are, and then that way you won't everyone ever have to worry about it. The only thing I would say is that, if we're posting them and you're coming in remotely, we'll have to have where you're at to list that,
Okay.
but we can figure that out later.
To accommodate the flood of people that would be appearing at that location. Let's see, okay, so I'd entertain a motion to, I think we can do this by motion, right? Yeah,
Yes.
appoint councilors.
One second, look, now that one, at my undisclosed location, I mean, there's no decision making, right? I mean, we're not gonna be voting on anything there, so I wouldn't,
I guess
Have to
I'd appoint
post
the
it.
attorney on that one.
You know, you'd just be, you're like an advisory board, you'd be making recommendations.
Yeah,
I
we're still
mean,
gonna post it, we're gonna have a quorum, because people will
Yeah,
have
yeah.
I'm
city
just wondering if
business,
I have to
but-
be at a different location, you know, because I'm not making decisions, so.
We worried about it? We're down there?
I'd like to be there now.
Well, he prefers to keep an anonymous location.
Yeah, we'll work through that.
Yeah, we'll work through it.
All right, so I think we're entertaining a motion to appoint councilors McCloskey and Hanson.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Councilor Hess, supported by
I'll support
Councilor
that.
Godey. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have our core committee there. Moving on to agenda item 17.11 is a form that our insurance carrier is asking the city to determine whether it should waive its statutory tort liability. And I believe the advice from the administration was, as proposed in the agenda packet, that we not waive our statutory liability. Is there a motion to not waive our tort liability protections?
I'll make that motion to not waive our tort liabilities.
Okay, the Councilor McCloskey moves, support,
I'll support it.
supported by Councilor Hanson. Everyone's clear on the issue? Okay, it's kind of an unusual action to take, to not do something. But seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
I'll just say too, I mean statutorily, we're required to do this, so we'll have to do it, we do it every year.
Yeah.
So, it's just one of those things.
Yep. And then 17.12 is to set a budget meeting to bear down on our responsibilities to get a budget in place by the end of the month. And I believe, based on discussions, we've targeted the date of December 10th, which is a Tuesday at 1 o'clock to probably meet here in the council chambers.
Correct. Yep.
Right, okay. So we don't need to establish that by motion or
Do
what?
it by motion,
Yep.
just
Yep.
All right. All right, motion,
I'll make a motion.
moved by Councilor Hess,
I'll
supported
support it.
supported by Councilor Godey to have our budget setting meeting that date at that time. No further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Our budget meeting set. 17.13, city administrator, anything else?
Our EDA, our Economic Development Authority, is gonna start heating up. There's a resolution we're going to have to approve. We've got to close on the loans, loan documents. We do have to appoint someone as treasurer, which we talked about last time, and assistant treasurer and whatnot. So look for us to start relatively soon, depending on when we want to close on this loan. We may have to have a special meeting, EDA stuff working. But then we did already set the schedule where we're going to have it before the second meeting of the month. But there's a lot of EDA stuff coming down with, because as you can see, they're doing a lot of work out there. And they're working on the building now. So the $6 million loan, which the EDA runs, that they're gonna have to start taking funds out of that. So we have not closed on that. We actually hired a title company to do a bunch of that work. So it's separate from the grant, which is doing the infrastructure work. So, and they will be done with the foundations, concrete 13th next week. They're almost done with it now. And they'll be looking to swing panels there in January. So it's gonna look like the building there really quick. But that's all I have for other.
Only better news would be if they had found a tenant already.
Did you see the sign that they put in?
Yeah, nice time.
Yeah, we put a big sign out there now, so
Yeah.
we're advertising.
Yeah, well, they built these structures before and tenants have come, so we'll be optimistic here. So, nothing further then?
Nothing further.
Other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion to
Moved by
adjourn.
Councilor McCloskey, support.
I'll support
Supported
that.
by Councilor Godey, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned then until the 10th.
Now we have the